Howdy, it's Ben and or Bookish Bear here, and it is May, and apparently May is Short Story Month, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to link down below to this Short Story Month website, which I looked over a little bit, and I figured I would just talk about some of the short stories that I like. So I'm going to do two videos, one video with my favorite short stories, and this video, I'm just going to talk about some collections and short story writers that I really enjoy and would recommend and hope that you might enjoy as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. The first one I want to talk about is one that I think everybody would be really interested into reading. And I suggest it to lots of people, and everyone always loves it. It is called Some by David Eagleman. So this is basically David Eagleman wrote a bunch of short stories, 40 to be exact, short stories that are hypotheticals about what happens after we die. So just 40 short stories about the afterlife and what it might be like. And they're all pretty thought-provoking and well-written, and it's just a really great book. Like I said, I suggest it to a lot of people, and everyone always seems to enjoy it. So I would highly recommend Some by David Eagleman. One of my favorite ones. It's this hypothesis that when we die, we go to this waiting room type place, and you are stuck in this waiting room type place until the very last person on Earth who is alive says your name. So there are people who are famous who have been there indefinitely, and then there are people who are there for a couple of days or a few weeks, which is really sad and depressing, but just this really interesting idea of legacy and what we're leaving behind, who's going to remember us, thoughts about that kind of stuff. So read that book because it's really good, and I think that you would probably enjoy it. The next collection that I want to talk about, and I'm actually doing this for the second time because for some reason between photo booth and iMovie this part got cut out, is collected short stories of Ernest Hemingway. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Ernest Hemingway. I really enjoy his work. I prefer him in short story form. Honestly, I think that it's easier to digest, and I think that more people would enjoy Ernest Hemingway if they started with his short stories and got an appreciation for his writing, an appreciation for his style, and then read his novels, because his novels can be kind of boring. And no one wants to read something that's boring, but beautifully written, except for I do. I guess lots of people do. Never mind. But with the short stories, it's in shorter bursts, so it that sense of tension that's built with the boring aspect of it is what I really enjoy. So there are some stories in here that are just really great. And I really recommend that you read some Hemingway short stories, and I think that you will enjoy them, and check it out from the library and just see if you like them or not. Alright, and apparently I'm redoing the whole video because it messed up. So good news for you guys, because it means that it's going to be less talking, because I don't want to do this again. And my allergies are a mess, so sorry about how my voice sounds all whatever. So the next one that I want to talk about, or the next writer that I want to talk about really, is one that I haven't read a lot of. I've read a few of her short stories, but they were really interesting, and I really enjoyed them. So I'd like to share her name, even though most people might already know it, which is Kelly Link. I read her stuff on an ebook, so I don't have a physical copy, but I need to get some physical copies of some of her stuff. And the collection that I have been reading from on my phone occasionally, not very often, is Stranger Things Happen, and it's really good. There's one in there that I really, really loved, and it kind of got me hooked on her stuff and wanted to read more. I just haven't yet. But Kelly Link, I think that you would enjoy her short stories. They're very weird and strange and inventive, which is fun to read. The next writer that I want to write about this collection is one that I also have not read, but I've read some of his other stuff, and I got this one in hopes to read more, which is some Raymond Carver. This one's called Where I'm Calling From. I read the one that is called What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, which is probably his most famous collection. This one I need to get to. but he's very realistic and gritty, down to earth writing. All of his subject matter is very gritty and realistic. Very lots of realism, which I enjoy. I know a lot of people find Bukowski really problematic and don't like to read his work. I personally love Bukowski and his writing, but Carver is similar in a lot of ways, and he's compared to Bukowski a lot, so I think that he might be a great substitute for if you enjoy Bukowski's writing but don't want to read or invest your time in Bukowski. I think Raymond Carver is a great substitute. Not that he's lesser than or anything like that. I think that they're both really great. But the styles, everything about their writing is just really similar. So I think that you might really enjoy Raymond Carver if you're into gritty kind of realism. So the next two that I'm going to talk about are actually my two favorite short story writers, and the first one that I want to mention is Etgar Keret. So Etgar Keret, this is, I believe, maybe his first collection. It's called the Nimrod Flipout. I have a bunch of his stuff. My favorite one is actually one that I think someone borrowed, or I can't find it. It's called The Girl on the Fridge. That's my favorite collection of his that I have. But Etgar Keret, he's writes in a way that is just really, really compelling. He writes things that are very weird and odd, like that kind of magical realism stuff that I like, where just it's very grounded in reality, but then weird stuff happens. He does that really well, and he is very, I don't know how to say, he's sentimental and very moving emotionally without being sappy, which is a hard line to toe, and he does it really well. You might know him from NPR. I know that he's been on This American Life quite a few times in his stories and stuff, and I've heard him on NPR a few times, so you might know him from there and not know his name, but I think that you should read Etgar Keret because he's amazing and a great short story writer. And the last one that I have to mention, my very favorite short story writer, and I think, in my humble opinion, the best short story writer that we have is Miss Lydia Davis. I've talked about her a lot already on my channel, and people are probably like, hey, shut up about Lydia Davis, but I'm not gonna. So this is her most recent, I believe, collection. It's called Can't and Won't. There's just so much that I could say about her writing. It's very grounded and realistic. It feels very honest. That's my favorite thing about Lydia Davis's writing. It feels so honest, and as a male, it's to get a female perspective is really great. And with Lydia Davis, I feel like it's always honest and like to the point of being super vulnerable and kind of uncomfortable sometimes. But when she writes female characters, it's just so honest and real, and it feels like you're learning and reading about real people. And I don't think that a lot of her stuff is autobiographical, but it feels that way for sure. It feels like she knows the people that she's writing, she knows these characters, and she's just writing about them. So please read Lydia Davis because she's amazing. Okay, this video is going to be all over the place because I had to stop again because the doorbell rang and my dog was barking. So the final book that I want to talk about is in this weird gray area between short story, fiction, nonfiction, but it's a book that I read and really, really love. It is called Killing the Buddha. So this book it's labeled as the Heretic's Bible, and it's just a bunch of writers kind of rewriting parts of the Bible, the scripture. So each section or each chapter is titled after a piece of scripture, and then it's either like a short story kind of about that, like a retelling, or it's an essay. Some of them are really personal, and it's really, really great and interesting take on religion and belief and ideas. It's very much in the essence of, like the title is taken from, if you find the Buddha on the road, kill him. Just very much in the vein of burning down the old to create the new, destroying the old to create the new. That sort of idea.
I read it at a time when it was just really important to me. I need to reread it this summer. But I suggest it to a lot of people because it's very interesting, no matter what you believe or how you think or wherever you are in life. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to have something in there that you can relate to. So please read Killing the Buddha, because it's awesome. So thank you for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Sorry about all the video weirdness and mishaps. I'm sure everything's going to look very different, and hopefully that's okay. As I said before, I'm going to do another video with my favorite short stories and talk about those. So check that out as well, and happy Short Story Month.